This Pitch Breakfast video is brought to you by Spangler and Agins, attorneys for Charlotte's startup community.
All right, hi, I'm Josh from Remotize, which is a marketplace that provides students alternative loan solutions that are funded by everyday investors. There's currently over $1.4 trillion in outstanding student debt in the United States alone. This is a debt market that is second only to mortgage debt. My co-founder Ron and I just graduated from the University of Michigan. And this all started when we had a conversation with one of our fellow classmates. She told us that she received the same interest rate and loan terms on a loan her senior year as she did her freshman year. This just didn't make sense to us. She had demonstrated that she was going to graduate on time and had a lucrative job lined up, but yet a bank believed that she was still as creditworthy as her freshman year, and this just didn't add up. Students across the country, just like our classmate, are receiving high interest rates from private lenders, upwards of 8, 9, 10%, as well as inflexible loan terms. And this is primarily because private lenders rely on the antiquated FICO score methodology to assess student credit risk. Our solution to this problem takes the form of a marketplace. Students post personalized loan requests on the open market. Investors then browse this marketplace and search for student investments that meet their criteria. Powering all of this is our forward-looking credit risk model, which accurately assesses students' ability and willingness to service this debt in the future using non-traditional factors like major, GPA, program, institution of choice, things like that. We as a business generate revenue by taking a small fee on both sides of all loan transactions, as well as licensing our credit model to existing lenders who are looking to make better lending decisions. We're currently raising a $400,000 pre-seed round to fund us for the next year. Thank you.
Okay, go ahead.
Okay. Sure. Good job. Good job.
Thanks.
I feel like Chris today.
That was good. Lister's not usually nice, Josh.
I'm trying to be more like Chris. But let me give you some questions or issues that I saw in the presentation, or ways to improve it, perhaps. Sure. So you structure it pretty well, I think. I think you had this very good intro sentence where you talk about the fact that it's a marketplace and it's an everyday investor sort of opportunity for people who are seeing a real problem, which is student loans. So the intro I thought was good. I found that you could have done a better job with getting a little deeper on the problem in your team. So I was just looking at how you structure this. You talked about the problem without really digging in enough to make us feel like it's something that you could solve. Then you talked about the team, but you only mentioned your name and your partner's name.
Yeah.
And that's really not good enough to give us any sense of credibility that you can do this.
Sure.
If you're gonna, and then you went back again to the problem, I would have maybe done it a little differently. Maybe either talk about the team after or talk about the team before, and then maybe focus the problem piece a little bit more closer together,
yeah,
so it's more impact. And when you talk about the team, tell us why you're the guy, or what you and your friend are the people to do this well. Sure. And then you talked about the solution. So the problem, I think, was well established and pretty clear, and it's easy, and you shouldn't spend too much time on it, although that's probably the place where you spend most of the time. But that's pretty well understood. I mean, student loans are a big issue. The solution is where I think you could have done more. Okay. Because there's many marketplaces, and it's not clear to me how you're going to get your investors. It's not clear to me how your investors are going to flock to this. It's not clear to me how you're going to be able to attract them. Investors are not necessarily looking to do this. If they're going to do this, probably it's going to be because they want to help, is my guess. It's like nobody thinks, oh, where should I make great money? Oh, let me just lend something to a student. Yeah. Because either I feel that I'm taking advantage. If I'm getting a good deal, I'm taking advantage of a student. If I'm not, well, I'm not making so much money. So I'm not sure that I understand the premise.
Sure.
I've heard of other pitches, other companies, for example, students borrowing from their friends and relatives and social network. And those individuals have as intent to help the student. And they don't want to lose money, but they want to help. So that's the motivation. I didn't get your motivation.
Sure.
Okay, nice.
I
Yeah,
can
go ahead.
address that.
Yeah. You talk. Yeah.
Yeah. The motivation in this case is both social impact as well as a return. These type of loans offer around 4 to 5% annualized net return over the lifetime of the loan. So this is a low risk fixed income asset that can offer real returns that are competitive with existing products. But as well, a lot of our lenders are motivated by the ability to help a student, especially within their own communities. So targeting alumni groups is a big way that we attract investors because it's valuable for them to
That's good.
gain agency kind of in this community that they really love.
Yeah. So it was a great pitch, man. You talked about two things that your company was going to do to kind of be a company. One was go build the marketplace, students, lenders, alumni groups, all that kind of stuff. That's cool. There's a lot of work you got to do that because you got to do a ton of marketing to get people on both sides. If there's not liquidity, it's not going to be any good, all that sort of thing.
Certainly.
And there are other companies that have done this, like Prosper and people like that. And the way that those guys blow up when they have trouble is their underwriting model, credit and risk, right? And at the end, you said, and we have a credit and risk model that will license to other people. Why would you go through all the trouble of trying to build the demand and the supply if you've got an advantaged risk model? Why wouldn't you just say, look, we've got a great risk model, and we're going to go out to all these other people who are either have or are on the verge of blowing up, right? Because a lot of them have. And just license them your model.
Sure. The real reason is because in order to prove the risk model, you need to make real lending decisions based on the model. And the most efficient way to do that is to not use our own capital.
Got it.
In the short term, it makes much more sense to not take on all this risk on our own balance sheet and to offer a peer-to-peer structure to prove the model. Moving forward, institutional capital is a kind of way to get that scale, certainly.
So long term, are you trying? Long term, do you want to build the marketplace, or long term, do you want to license the your credit risk model?
Long term, we see the value in the model, whether that's us making the lending or licensing the model. It doesn't necessarily need to be peer-to-peer, though.
What's
Right.
unique
So-
about the model, though? I mean, I don't.
Well, it's secret. You can't tell
Well,
anybody.
yeah, but
It's-
at
sure,
least
I
give
can-
us
I
an
can-
angle.
Yeah, it's so any private lender today doesn't care what your major is, how good your program is.
SoFi doesn't care.
SoFi does all refi. SoFi goes top down, so they're taking the top business school kids and refining most of their loans.
Right.
We're
Well,
talking.
that's Michigan, right? I mean,
Sure,
Right.
but we're talking about.
no, I mean it is. Yeah.
We're talking about originating loans for undergrads.
Wow.
So you're looking at.
We're very early on in the student's life cycle.
So you're an earlier part of the stack to them.
Correct. That piece of the pie has really not been innovated in.
So I thought your presentation was great. I think your idea is good, and you know the thing. What I heard you saying was, man, we're going to build this big two-sided marketplace with a risk model in the middle, right? And that's a ton of work.
Yep.
And there's so many things that could go wrong, right? And there's a different way to pitch what you pitched, which is we've got a killer risk model that we want to license to everybody, and we've got to prove it.
Yeah.
So we're going to do that at these 5 places, show traction, and then we're going to license this thing.
Okay.
It's and I don't know which one you're trying to do.
Yeah.
I suspect it'll be easier to get people to invest in B.
Yeah. Okay.
That's my suspicion.
I
So
would
it was really
be
good.
careful though to
Lister would
not
be
change your business because Chris told you. Because I'm not so sure that going to license the model is the best way to go. I mean, the truth is you don't know. I mean, I think you probably have a good idea about how good your model is, but you're hoping that it's good enough to be able to build a business. And if it turns out that it is a great model that nobody else can figure out, then it makes sense to do what Chris says. But maybe it's just a little bit better than other models, and you do have to build a marketplace. The thing is that there's so many models out there. I mean, I see companies that are just looking at shipping data to understand and to provide, credit. There's like, Cabbage is doing interesting things. There's all kinds of models, creative ways to do things that I wouldn't be surprised that somebody is doing something similar to what you're doing already, maybe 20 companies. So to say, I'm just gonna license the model, maybe he does have something special, but I think you'll discover that. I don't think you know that yet.
Josh, like they said, I thought you have great stage presence. You do a good job presenting the story. I think the story could stand on its own as you presented it, probably not for an investor group, which is kind of the background for Idea Fund. I agree with them. You addressed the problem, but probably spent too much of the time for an investor group for that. It's a debate, you can see, right?
Sure.
You have to choose, though, where you are going to want to invest, whether it is a credit risk model or that marketplace. I think Chris said something really important. You know, there's where you are today and where you want to be. And I think making a couple sentences about we're doing this today because of this and here's where we want to be, right? To get back to that market size. Something that wasn't explicit, but I think also would help prove that you're aware is you're not taking on the credit risk, right? I'd restate how your revenue is being generated, right?
Sure.
Because I think that is really important. You realize that, and you're going after license and white label model, right? So that'd be a suggestion. I assume that is correct. And the other part, the hard part about growing a marketplace is how you address both sides, right? And get it there. If you're going to make it A, you need to describe how you're doing that. So why don't you spend a second and tell us what you're doing to
get investors.
generate both sides.
Well, you won't have
investors.
much. I don't think you're gonna have trouble getting borrowers.
Students. So
Yeah,
where are you getting
I
your
mean-
money, capital,
Sure.
and
So-
to take on the risk?
So briefly on the student side, we target all the influencers that are essentially in the student. So the student is being influenced on where to get their loans by high school counselors, by their parents, and by the financial aid offices at the university that they attend. So those are the three places where we're trying to reach the students. Financial aid office is difficult because the university is very closed down about exactly what they will and will not support. Those other channels, we think we can reach students as well as online influencers like Lend.edu and Student Loan Hero who are making judgments about loans. And on the investor side, alumni stuff as well as financial advisors.
That was good, man.
Yeah.
Good job.